Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Mysterious Pals. My name's Chris. This week, I got the silliest boy on the block. His name's Jordan.
Oh.
Welcome aboard, Jordan.
All aboard.
You're here to take the Mysterious Express into Mystery Town.
Choo choo.
Yeah, it runs like on electric, though, so there's no choo-choos. Zap, zap. I don't know. Anyway, welcome, everybody out there. Thank you for tuning in, and we are so happy you're here because this week we're talking about something that I don't know if it's I don't know if this is considered sacrilegious, maybe, or
oh boy, where are we going?
Yeah, so maybe no one will ever see this episode. We'll see how it plays out. Anyway, as someone who went to a Catholic school, K through 8.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, it is. I heard all kind of stories about the religious side of the world, the things that the Bible, things in the Bible, and I had religion class every day. And one thing that I don't really know if we talked about in our religious classes was topic of our story tonight,
which is,
well, first I'm going to ask you, what can you tell me about the Ark of the Covenant?
Sorry, Dilliam.
First off, what can you tell me about the Ark of the Covenant?
It was in a movie. A very good movie.
Steven Spielberg?
Yeah.
He found it and then brought it to the movie?
Yeah.
Harrison
Ford was there. That was pretty cool. Yeah, doesn't it hold the 10 Commandments? Is that right? Is that the thing?
You tell me. Does it?
I think that's what it was.
Supposedly, it holds 10 Commandments. We'll go over what it is. But
so, okay, go ahead.
No, I'm excited. What are you going to say?
Was this actually in the Bible, the Ark of the Covenant?
Oh, boy, was it.
Okay.
But what wasn't in the Bible was the answer to the question, was the Ark of a Covenant a weapon?
Oh, wow. But the Nazis try to find out, huh?
I mean, there's little rascals that are all kind of doing kind of stuff.
No.
So, was the Ark of the Covenant a destructive and potentially weaponized artifact? What we're going to talk about this week, because the Ark of the Covenant is one of the most mysterious, revered artifacts in religious history, especially in one very specific part of religion, the major religions, right? And there's descriptions of it in ancient texts, which give it, obviously, it leads to a lot of interpretations of what actually it was. Among these was that there's an intriguing theory, maybe a suggestion that the Ark may have been a form of a weapon.
Okay.
So that's what we're going to talk about. And I'll talk about why people think that and why people came to that conclusion. Although...
It's Indiana Jones, that's why.
Well... You think? Well, he was just looking for it. It doesn't mean...
Yeah, but the Nazis wanted it. Why do they want it in that movie? Weaponize it?
I don't know. I don't think it really matters. Was that theory that like he was completely inconsequential to that movie? He just kind of was...
Yeah, remember we talked about that before. Something else.
Not this show, yeah.
Like they would have found it no matter what. They would have opened it up no matter what.
Yeah, they would have died.
No matter what,
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about why people think it's a weapon. I don't know why the Nazis wanted it. It probably was for power, I'd imagine, because obviously that's something like, there's all these stories throughout the Bible and through history, and like people wrote tons of books on this, like if it was real, if it existed, if it was, there's the theory that it was, well, there's not really a theory, but there's a lot of scholars that consider the Virgin Mary as the new Ark of the Covenant because she carried Jesus.
Okay.
There's even stories in the Book of Revelations referencing her as the woman of the apocalypse.
Virgin Mary?
Yeah. And so I'm not going to go into all that stuff because it is really, obviously, the Bible is a thick piece of stuff, paper. And there's a lot of stuff in it. And those words are small. If someone had to carry one of my book bags from like kindergarten to 8th grade, those words were small.
It's a hefty boy.
Yeah. That thing was thick. Anyway, we're going to go into this today because I saw a couple of videos on this, like theories. I read some stuff on it over the last couple of years. I remember seeing like a documentary, maybe not when I say documentary, I'm like a History Channel type of thing of like that it was a weapon and this is why. And so I think it might have been like that crazy guy, the Chariot of the Gods guy, or not that guy.
The Greek guy. The crazy
yeah.
guy.
Giorgio something or other, maybe.
Yeah.
The Ancient Aliens guy.
Yeah. I've seen this, the Ark of the Covenant thing pop up before, and I'm like, what mystery should I do this week? And I'm like, I'm not touching that.
You think?
Better than you than me.
Why didn't you want to touch it?
Because the religious stuff.
Oh.
But it was more or less just like, was it even a real thing? Or, where is it at?
Yeah. I think
it's more of a figurative kind of thing.
The concepts are interesting.
Yeah.
We're not going to go into like, we're going to talk about that, but we're not really going to go into like, did it exist?
Yeah.
The purpose of it. I'm going
Okay.
to talk about the stories that are around it, referencing it to being an actual weapon.
Okay.
Or possibly a weapon. And there's some really interesting theories about how it can be considered a weapon to maybe give credence to them stories. Anyway. Here we go.
Nice knowing you.
Yeah. Well, it is. I mean, it's not like
No.
what I'm saying, like, oh, Jesus took a crap in this thing, and then Moses tipped it over and dumped it on people, and it created endless turds or something. I don't know. No, that's not like what we're talking. We're talking about like, here's things that were mentioned in the Bible, and could have been a weapon.
Could this thing be a weapon?
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So the Ark of the Covenant begins in the book of Exodus. Not the first book of the Bible.
It's Genesis.
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy.
Wow. Look at this guy.
I went to Catholic school.
Yeah, I know,
I had
but
to memorize
I'm surprised you remember that. Old Testament, right?
When they beat it into you every day and tell me if I don't memorize it, I'm going to go to hell,
Yeah.
According to Exodus 25, 10 to 22, God commanded Moses to build an ark as part of the broader instructions for the tabernacle, a portable sanctuary for the worship as the Israelites journeyed through the wilderness after escaping from Egypt. God provided detailed specifications for the ark's construction to Moses.
Okay. You remember that.
The ark was to be crafted from acacia wood. Type of wood.
This is the wood that the jazz guy. Maybe your point of contention where the jazz serial killer guy, the one episode we did, where he's like chiseling through people's doors and they're like, what kind of wood are they using? Was this arcade? What was this you guys said?
Acacia.
Acacia.
I think acacia was prevalent in the Middle East.
Okay. Is it sturdy wood?
Is it a hardwood or a softwood? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a softwood would be a pine tree. I'd imagine it was considered a harder wood, but on the softer side of the density.
Okay. All right.
Good question. Like your enthusiasm. Don't care too much for it right now.
Don't care for your tone, but
yeah,
okay.
Your tone could really change, but yeah. Thank you.
Anyway. New Orleans. That's the episode. You're welcome.
So, I'm going to go back. The ark was crafted from acacia wood, measuring approximately 2.5 cubits long, 1.5 cubits wide, and 1.5 cubits high, not hide.
What's a what's a cubic?
Cubit.
What is that?
And form measurement.
Well, I know that, but like...
So roughly 4 feet by 2.5 feet by 2.5 feet. So, I'm blow that right out your ass. I just answered that question.
You
got another tongue twister for me, Professor?
By the Acacia sorority? Is that what we're talking about?
Got another brain buster for me? No, that was Acacia was a...
wood.
But it was also a fraternity.
Fraternity, okay, all right.
At our college, what do they call it whenever you go to college? It's called our alma
mater?
Yeah, alma mater. Okay, so to make the ark portable, this is what God was talking about. So let's get a little respect.
Let's listen. Let's get a little respect.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Oh,
Jesus.
boy.
Talking to you. To make the ark portable, rings were attached to each corner, allowing wooden poles overlaid with gold to be inserted through them. These poles were never to be removed, symbolizing the ark's perpetual
movement,
readiness for travel. The ark's lid, called the mercy seat or atonement cover, was made of pure gold and featured two cherubim with outstretched wings facing each other. The space between the cherubim was considered the physical location of God's presence on earth and served as a meeting point where God would communicate with Moses and later the high priest.
So you can actually sit on it because that's what God's supposed to do.
Would imagine he wouldn't like that very much.
Yeah.
So I also not mentioned, I mentioned it was crafted from acacia wood, but it was layered with gold, acacia wood gold. So the inside gold layer, outside was gold plated.
Mm-hmm.
So there was wood in between it.
Yeah.
That's gonna be important later when we talk about the weapon. The ark's primary purpose was the container of the stone tablets from the Ten Commandments, inscribed with the laws given to Moses on Mount Sinai. According to Hebrews 9, in the New Testament, the ark also held Aaron's staff, which had miraculously budded in a pot of manna, the food that sustained the Israelites in the wilderness.
Miraculously what?
It budded.
Budded?
So it like gave them food while they were walking around 40 years. That would suck walking around in a desert for 40 years. That'd be terrible. The catechism of the Catholic Church teaches that Mary is metaphorically a version of the ark, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Catholic scholars connect the pregnant birthing woman of the apocalypse from the book of Revelation with the Blessed Virgin Mary, whom they identify as the Ark of the New Covenant.
Okay.
That's where it gets
full circle.
Yeah, it gets a little wacky in there.
Yeah.
As far as
Revelation's nuts,
deep.
man. I remember reading that. It gets nuts.
I think just in general, the whole concepts, like there's so many other people at this point in the New Testament, especially like bringing their information in, trying to make things of it. Then you have like scholars that come back and try to interpret this stuff. Look, it's like the most popular book ever or something ridiculous, like numbers wise, so it makes sense. There'd be a lot of people thinking about this, writing about it and interpreting it. Okay, let's go into some things that the ark did around with the peoples.
Okay. What it did?
Just listen.
Shut your mouth.
The ark accompanied the Israelites throughout their 40-year journey in the wilderness. It played a central role in their worship and served as a symbol of God's presence among them. One example of the ark's ability to protect them on their journey was the crossing of the Jordan River. In the book of Joshua, when it played a miraculous role in allowing the Israelites to cross the Jordan River. According to Joshua 3, the Israelites were preparing to enter the promised land after their long journey. The Jordan River was at flood stage, making it impassable. However, God instructed Joshua that the priests carry the ark. The priests carrying the ark should step into the river.
Like jump in this terrifying river.
Yeah, but they had the ark. When they did, the water stopped flowing, allowing the people to cross on dry ground. The priests remained in the middle of the riverbed, holding the ark until all the Israelites had crossed safely. This event parallels the crossing of the Red Sea from Exodus.
Yep.
The ark's presence is such a crucial moment, reinforced its roles as divine instruments in these stories, such as the parting of the Red Sea, but in this case, specifically the ark.
Yeah.
So that's one example of things that were going on with the ark that helped while the Israelites were carrying it around. Well, it was helping them.
Yeah.
Which we're gonna go into like the bad side of it in a second here. Not the bad side of the ark, but what things came from it as a weapon.
I mean, that I could see that line of thought where you're like, oh, hey, this thing's gonna protect me. Because God's always gonna be with this thing. You can see that in that line of thought, maybe that could become a weapon.
Yeah.
Like
I think that, so that may be one of our theories.
Okay. All right.
Like mind over matter type of thing. Like you think about it enough, it's gonna happen maybe. Or I don't know.
But if it's an instrument, this instrument of God, I can see how somebody like, I can weaponize this.
Yeah.
But would God let you do that?
You'd hope not.
Yeah, right.
But what we're going to go into, you might see otherwise. I don't know. So let's talk about the ark as a source of power and destruction. So not only was this ark a religious symbol, it was reputed to have these destructive powers, which I had mentioned, and we're going to go into. These are documented. Some of these, the idea here is they're documented as several incidents throughout the Hebrew Bible.
Okay.
We're going to go into a few of them, but I think there's still more that I didn't get. Some like I read here and there, and I was like, that one's a little touchy because there's things here and here. There's scholars say this about it, and it's not interpreted right that I can really make it out.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of interpretations. Like you said, most popular book ever, so there's gonna be all kinds of different interpretations.
Very thick. In that book I had, the one I carried around with me, very thick, insanely small letters, probably like 8-point font, 2 columns per page. The pages were so thin.
Are we talking King James version? What version are we talking?
What's the difference?
All right, go on.
I honestly don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
I've heard people say that. I'm like, oh. Okay.
Is King James the Vulgate one?
Again, I don't know.
The vulgar, from my understanding, comes from Vulgate, which is vulgar. The vulgar, someone says you're being vulgar, it means like you're being kind of like
Crass.
Apparently, vulgar comes from Vulgate, which means was Latin for, I could be wrong, common tongue. The Vulgate, the King James version of the Bible, is supposed to be written for common people to be able to read. And a lot of people said because of that, certain things, nuances in the Bible got lost because of that. There's like obviously Greek versions was a big part, Latin was a big part.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you weren't reading the Greek.
Maybe. I don't remember. It's been a long time.
You learned like Latin and you don't remember it.
I mean, it looked fine.
Yeah.
Honestly, I fell asleep a lot.
But it's crazy how many different versions of the Bible are
rewritten, written.
Oh,
especially when you think about like
certain words can like change so much. Because I remember I like going through college, I did a lot of medieval classes and I obviously deal with biblical stuff because it's a big part of the Middle Ages. And I was like reading different versions of the Bible and like different, what are they called? Like not stanzas, but
Proverbs.
Yeah. They'd totally be
Psalms?
different. No, it'd be like a
Stanzas?
sentence. Stanzas. A certain line would be very different based on like, I would read it very differently based on what version
Your
I was reading.
interpretation of it was different than others. Yeah. That's kind of like art.
And then you have people, but then you also have people like scholars going over debating it, what the actual meaning of these things were. So like, this is a very
especially when you think about like the Bible.
hard thing to like research.
Yeah, especially to like interpret and especially, well, you think about 150 years from now, how are people going to interpret it differently?
Sure, but this whole area is such a big part of big group of people's lives. Yeah, very influential.
You think about the other side of this, where up until the 1450s, everything was hand copied. So when you had people hand copying these books, any book, there could be small changes, depending on the part of the world they're in. Because it was like Gutenberg invented the movable type printing press. There was already printing presses, but he didn't technically movable type printing press.
Wait, there was already a printing press?
Yeah, China had them. Like the printing presses, as far as like they carve stuff into like a stone or something. They carve something into something, and then they, made one giant plate. But a movable type printing press was different. They had individual letters that it was loading in the plates.
I know the Gutenberg Bible, I think, is the most translated.
So that was he printed that. So the idea was that the first year of the Gutenberg printing press, he made 13 Bibles in 1 year, which was like unheard of. You're like, oh my God. So that's a lot of printing.
Yeah.
But movable type made that possible. The idea of like having different fonts, different.
Okay.
You can misspell things or whatever, move type around a little bit here and there, make it bigger, make it smaller. Where printing presses prior to that were more just like block, block that they was like carved it.
Yeah.
This way you can make one page and quickly. All right. So let's go into these power and destruction instances. So the first one we're going to talk about here is the fall of Jericho. You heard about this? You know about this? Fall of Jericho? The walls of Jericho?
Yeah. Didn't you like a show called Jericho?
Holy crap, I forgot about that show.
Yeah.
It was like 1 or 2 seasons. Because a nuclear bomb goes off. And
Is that what it was?
Yeah. That was a good show. I don't know what happened to that. I think it got canceled, obviously, but I wonder still around. Anyway, the fall of Jericho So in the book of Joshua, the ark plays a central role in the conquest of the city of Jericho. After wandering in the wilderness for 40 years, the Israelites, under the leadership of Joshua, were poised to enter Canaan, the land that God had promised them. Jericho, however, was a heavily fortified city, and it was one of their first major obstacles getting to Canaan. The city's thick walls were renowned, making it nearly impossible to conquer under conventional means. So I think even through history, like even obviously we're talking about it in kind of one side of the story, maybe, but like I think historically this was a place.
Yeah, I think so.
So
yeah.
It makes sense this actually could have happened. Not necessarily because of the ark, but the timing was right.
Yeah.
And this may have been, I'm jumping ahead of this, but this may have been a symbolism type of thing where like they convinced the people of Jericho to let them pass, that type of thing. But anyway, back to our weapon. The city's thick walls were renowned, making it nearly impossible to conquer using conventional means. Rather than devising the traditional military strategy, Joshua received specific instructions from God how to bring down the walls. God's instructions to Joshua involved a highly unusual approach that centered around the ark. Joshua was told to have the army and priests follow a daily ritual for 7 days. For 6 days, Joshua was instructed 7 priests to carry 7 ram's horns and walk in front of the ark. Behind the priests, a group of armed soldiers followed. The priests and soldiers, along with the ark, would march around the walls once a day in a silent procession, with only the sound of the trumpets breaking the silence. On the 7th day, the routine changed. The Israelite assembly was instructed to march around the city not once but 7 times. The ark was carried each time, and the priests blowing their trumpets continuously. After the 7th circuit, Joshua instructed the people to shout as loud as they could.
Okay.
As the Israelites followed Joshua's command and shouted, the fortified walls of Jericho miraculously collapsed, allowing the Israelites to enter the city and capture it easily. So that was one instance of it being used as a weapon.
Yeah.
In the time of Samuel, who was part of Israel people, he's mentioned a lot in the Hebrew Bible. Anyway, he brought the ark. It's said the ark was brought into battle against the Philistines because they use it in battles frequently to help with winning the war.
I mean, yeah, help them cross a river.
Right.
Why not keep using it?
Right. So, however, in 1 Samuel 4, the Israelites were defeated and the ark was captured by the Philistines, who brought it back to their city of Ashdod and placed it in the temple of the god Dagon.
Yeah.
This event marked one of the few times the ark was separated from the Israelites, leading to disastrous consequences for the Philistines. According to the account, the statue of the Dagon fell twice before the ark, breaking in the second fall. Moreover, the Philistine cities that hosted the ark experienced plagues and outbreaks of tumors.
Oh, geez.
Not
worthy.
Yeah. In 1 Samuel 5, the people of Ashdod and other Philistine cities were afflicted with plagues, and this led to panic. Eventually, the Philistines decided to return the ark to Israel as they believed it was the source of their suffering. The ark was placed in a cart along with offerings of gold and sent it back to the Israelites. And this leads to the incident at Beth Shemesh. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, and if I'm not, I'm sorry. Another account suggests the ark's dangerous power occurs in 1 Samuel 6:19, where the people of Beth Shemesh suffer after looking into the ark. After enduring plagues, the Philistines placed the ark on a cart drawn by 2 cows, hoping it would return to Israel on its own. Cows headed directly for Beth Shemesh, a town in Israelite territory. This event was witnessed by the people of this town, who were overjoyed with the ark's return. The people of the town stopped their harvest work to celebrate, ordering sacrifices and rejoicing in what they saw as a sign of God's favor. So these cows show up with the ark in tow with gold and stuff. However, some of the men of Beth Shemesh violated the ark's sanctity by looking inside it,
Ooh.
which is
Indiana Jones.
strictly forbidden by law. In response to their act of irreverence, God struck down many of the townspeople. According to 1 Samuel 6:19, 70 men, or some people say up to 50,000, died as a result of this transgression. As a result, the people of Beth Shemesh sent messengers to the nearby town of Karath Jearim, to take the ark from them, where it remained for years. So,
Got it back.
Yeah. Another is the death of Uzzah. After establishing himself as king, David wanted to bring the ark to Jerusalem to make the city both political and spiritual center of Israel. At this point, the ark had been kept in the house of Abinadab, in Karath Jearim for several decades following the return from the Philistine captivity. David, I'm guessing King David, do you know who that is?
Like the David. Right?
Who is that? Is he the guy hit the guy with the...
Don't beat Goliath.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's the same guy.
He was king.
Yeah. Game king. I don't know how.
Wait.
Like, I know earlier I said I had to like read the Bible when I was doing my college stuff, Middle Ages, but it was more or less the theology side of it, the interpretation of it, and how like these councils interpreted what's canon or not.
Yeah.
But my actual understanding of the Bible itself, the stories of it, is not very well. Not very good.
Did you just like fast forward to like...
Not very good.
Not very well good.
not very well good. Oh my God.
Not a good well. Did you like fast forward to all the interesting stories like David killing Goliath? Is that the...
No,
like,
no, it mostly had to do with like who was Jesus, the divinity of Jesus, the Holy Trinity, all that stuff. So like the stories themselves, not pertaining to Jesus himself, I never really read much of it.
I always get the story of David and Goliath mixed up with the one of the Cyclops and the Greek guy.
Odysseus?
Yeah.
I mean...
Is that basically the same thing? I mean, other than it being...
little guy against the big guy.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
Is that where they got the Odysseus story, probably? I don't know. When did they write Odysseus? Like 2006?
I'm not going to go to that.
I don't know. Anyway,
I'm not
we're
going to
back.
touch that. No, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to know. We can never figure it out by looking stuff up. So, King David, wanted to bring the ark back to Jerusalem. The ark was placed in a new cart, which was driven by Uzzah and his brother Ahio.
Ohio?
Yeah. Ahio. This method of transport was unusual because, according to the instructions given in the Torah, the ark was meant to be carried by priests using poles that were inserted through the rings on the sides, which is in Exodus 25:12-15. So it's very strict or very clear what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
However, the ark was being moved by a cart, a method previously used by the Philistines when the ark returned to the Israelites. As the procession neared the threshing floor of Canaan, the oxen pulling the cart stumbled. What do you think happened?
Did the ark pop open?
You think that's what it? Then what happened? It's just like they're like, "Oh crap, fill it back in."
Well, everyone died because they saw something, or they were.
Well, then how'd they get it back in the box?
I don't know. Someone else came along and found it, or just closed their eyes and pushed it shut.
Okay. They're like, "Oh, we're just wandering around like this." Like, it's that like, Bird Box movie or something.
Like, we got it. All right, it's closed.
Again, so the oxen pulling the cart stumbled. Seeing the ark shift, Uzzah instinctively reached out his hand to steady it, preventing it from falling. As soon as Uzzah touched the ark, he was struck dead by God for his action.
But he's trying to do a good thing.
The Bible states the Lord's anger burned against Uzzah because of his irreverent act. Therefore, God struck him down, and he died beside the ark.
Although he wasn't supposed to put it on the cart in the first place.
They're supposed to carry it. Priest was supposed to carry it.
There you go.
But basically, he was told,
He's cutting corners.
Well, he was told to bring it to David. Maybe they didn't give enough people. They're like, "Hey, can you just drop this off for me? You going by there? Can you just throw this on the porch
real quick for me?"
Yeah, like a old school, Amazon guy. David, shaken by this display of divine power, halted the journey and redirected the ark to the house of Obed-Edom, where it remained for 3 months. During this time, the household of Obed-Edom's was blessed, affirming the ark's sacredness when handled properly. What are you thinking now? There's 3 specific instances
Blessed with the sacredness?
because they were
Properly.
treating it
So
correctly.
yeah,
so they
what
were
was that?
blessed.
Like, what do you mean they're blessed? What does that mean?
It just says they're blessed. Like they treated it properly, so they were. It's probably one of those things like you treat it right, and you're gonna be okay.
Yeah, but how? Like, what happened?
Look, dog, I didn't go that deep. That's a tangent we don't need to go down. If you'd like to
Sure.
read it, go ahead and grab the Bible
Grab the
and
Bible.
give it a whirl. So, what we're going to go into now, we're going to interpret the ark's power, or the ark itself, through a technological lens from today's view.
Okay.
Because we know that this story is old and it's been translated millions of times.
Sure.
But
Also, according to these stories, like there's some power, divine power associated
that's
with
killing
this.
things.
Yes, associated with.
That's killing
Ark.
people, living things.
Yeah.
And it's happening sometimes instantly. Sometimes it's happening the entire
Right.
And there's other instances, like just go look up this story. There's other instances of this being the case. Knocking down walls, impenetrable walls is another instance. So
Yeah.
today, if we said, hey, this thing that the military has is knocking down walls, we're like, oh, it's a bomb or something like that.
Yeah. Ram.
What?
Like a ram. The ram down the walls.
Oh, you're talking about the doors.
Yeah.
Like running through like medieval?
No, I'm saying in modern
Or
terms.
they drove a tank into it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So they
or
just,
like the SWAT team has a big
yeah.
thing they knock doors down with.
She's saying it could be something like that, but this is like all the walls fall down. So it's just a bunch of SWAT guys out there like, God, go faster.
Or it's a
faster.
domino effect.
Yeah,
They got
okay.
lucky.
Hit the right spot. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about making all those people sick? What technology can do that?
Mm,
Military technology could do that.
yeah.
Make entire cities sick. Boils and tumors and stuff.
Right. COVID.
What can make someone die when they touch it instantly? Yeah. See? You got nothing.
Yeah. Got nothing. Yeah.
Descriptions of the ark's effects on people and structures have invited speculation from historians, scientists, and theologians on whether the incidents could have been caused by advanced technology. So we in modern times have tried to interpret ancient texts through scientific lens, have led to theories about the ark's power being akin to the radiation electrical discharge phenomena associated with nuclear or high energy devices.
What?
So let's go into these theories.
How would that?
Just
All right.
hush, child.
Keep this ark
Let me
moving.
hold you into my bosom and talk to you about power weapons. I'm going to take these craziest to most realistic.
Okay. I like that.
Okay, thanks.
I like to do.
But before I do this, I'm going to hear what you think what this is. Was this real? Was it a weapon? How can it be considered a weapon? Looking from a technology standpoint, what's it considered?
Technology, I have no idea, but I think it's definitely possible that Ark was real, but these stories might have been, very carefully here, might have been
Mistranslated?
not mistranslated, but maybe exaggerated a little bit.
Okay.
More like a
You're saying God isn't real.
no. I'm just saying that maybe because we always talk about this when like something bad happens to a community, they immediately think it's like, oh, they're cursed or something like that. But it could be like an allegory, or like a fable, or a moral, or sort of morality. Like treat this thing with respect, otherwise something bad can happen to you. I'm not saying the Jericho wall thing didn't happen or the Philistine thing didn't happen, but maybe there might have been some exaggeration just to
Make themselves look better.
drive home the point of how sacred this thing is.
Yeah. And especially if
Treat it
you're,
with respect, or otherwise, bad things will happen to you.
especially if you're writing this to be used in a Bible or some type of religious text, you want it to be
Sure.
Made you guys better.
Yeah.
You know, the stories to be more
Dramatic.
Yeah. So let's go into the first one's going to be the ancient technology theory. Some suggest the Ark was a piece of advanced technology potentially passed down from a lost civilization or gifted
There it is.
by extraterrestrial beings.
Okay.
Because, I mean, Moses was up on a mountain, got something.
How do you get up there?
Yeah, but, well, he walked up there. But
all right.
But he got something carved in the stones from the sky, right, with a burning bush. I don't remember exactly what happened, what that dude was doing up there, but was that aliens? Was it God? Is God aliens?
Oh.
So the theory draws on the alternative histories that suggest advanced technologies existed in ancient times, Atlantis, though much of the knowledge was lost, typically.
How convenient.
Proponents argue that the Ark could have functioned as a power source or advanced energy device. Because imagine if you got like a M16.
Well, we talked this before. You brought this up before. Like, if there's anything you could bring back
Yeah.
in time with you, what would it be? Like, seeing how people react. That somebody would be like, "Oh, you're a witch, or you're the devil, or you're God, or what, whatever."
Depends if you can murder them with it.
Yeah. Something that powerful, like,
yeah,
look what I can do.
Right. Like zap your walls down in a second. You'd be like, "Oh crap!" So, claims of ancient technology often include artifacts like the Baghdad battery.
I've seen that before. Yeah. Ooh, okay.
I haven't looked too much into it, but I'm like, battery acid, bro. Acids.
Yeah.
Anyway, someday maybe we'll talk about that. As evidence that ancient civilizations may have had rudimentary knowledge of electrical power. Kind of goes into that.
All right.
However,
possible, right?
Go to the next one.
All right.
Radioactive or nuclear theory.
Ooh, how?
Some modern theorists suggest the Ark may have emitted radiation or even housed radioactive materials, leading to illness and death from those who came too close. The stories of plagues, tumors, and illnesses striking those near the Ark, such as the Philistines, who stole it and subsequently suffered outbreaks, are sometimes interpreted as symptoms of radiation sickness. The death and illness associated with the Ark's presence, especially in the case of the Philistines, has led to speculation that the Ark emitted a form of radiation. In modern times, radiation sickness can cause symptoms that might be analogous to the plagues described in the biblical text. This notion is often invoked in comparing the Ark's nuclear technology to nuclear technology, which can emit dangerous levels of radiation leading to sickness and death.
Would the wood and like gold-plated stuff cover, like protect people from getting radiation sickness, even if they don't touch it? If they're near it enough, wouldn't it?
Maybe.
Wouldn't everybody get sick eventually?
Yeah, but maybe.
It was with them for 40 years they're carrying this thing, right? They all just die because of that?
Maybe it was closed, like you said. Maybe the gold plated could have contained it, and the Philistines opened it up.
Yeah.
And got radiation sickness. The deadly consequences of mishandling the Ark are cited as possible evidence of exposure to highly dangerous materials or device. Some suggest the Arks contain a radioactive substance or artifact passed down through ancient civilization with advanced technology. Be another thing that the two can be combined. First two.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, could Moses have gone up there and been given
uranium?
Maybe the stones were somehow irradiated.
Yeah.
That's possible. I don't know how irradiated it could have been. Uranium and that type of stuff.
They part the Red Sea with a nuclear explosion.
Last time I checked. What's that old school movie? It's like, is that the Ten Commandments? Is that like
Charlie
Heston?
Charles Heston.
Charles Heston. Is that what? Is that
Charles Heston?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in that.
He wasn't the boat guy, right?
No, that's Noel.
Okay.
Yeah, he was Moses.
I think it was very big with grandparents.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it was a very big deal.
But I also think like technologically that scene was a very big deal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought this.
Well, Charlie Heston.
I thought it was recorded in real time. I don't know.
You mean he
didn't do that?
Wait, he didn't really part the Red Sea?
Yeah, I thought that was just like
real time.
I didn't think it was a reenactment. Anyway, Another instance or another theory is that it is the arc could have been acoustic or sonic resonance. Goes into the sonic resonance theory. So the theory suggests that the arc used sound frequencies or vibrations as a form of energy. When priests circled Jericho carrying the ark and blowing trumpets, they may have created a resonant frequency that weakened the walls.
It's like an amp?
Kind of, but like over time, as it like took things at like maybe really high or really low decibels, they were reflected. I've seen this before, like it can be reflected. It's kind of like how an echo works. But if its echo is like reflected and concentrated, the way it's reflected, it could cause things like that.
So people got sick because it could play the brown note?
Well, what about those people in the snowstorm thing, the snow avalanche thing?
Yeah. What about them?
There was a theories about like the sound of the wind caused them to go crazy and run out of the tent.
Oh, yeah.
Same kind of theories, like a sound can really mess with people.
Sure.
Sonic and acoustic resonance is a real phenomenon. Certain frequencies can cause materials to vibrate, even to the point of structural damage.
Yeah.
As you said, the brown note. Proponents have argued that the trumpets and movements around Jericho could have combined with the ark's supposed powers to generate a destructive frequency. Resonance is capable of breaking down physical structures using specific conditions, and some speculate the rituals surrounding the ark may have harnessed a natural resonance frequency inadvertently.
Okay.
They just
happened upon it.
They had sounds coming out over time that caused the walls to break down because it was the right frequency to ruin that.
How long will that take, though?
I mean, depending on the frequency, it could have been instant.
No.
Another one. Now, again, this is like unlikely to likely.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one is the electrical capacitor theory. You know what a capacitor does?
Like the thing from Back to the Future?
No.
Flux capacitor?
No, the real electrical components.
No clue.
Capacitor stores like electricity until it's needed, so it's like
Sure.
It can absorb bottom electricity and shoot it out really quickly, like
for like purpose,
for whatever it is. Like, let's say like, we have a robotics team and it needs to spin up we have BattleBots team spin up their motor. We use a really pretty big capacitor to store a bunch of energy.
So sudden burst.
So we get sudden burst to get it moving really quickly.
Okay.
So everything has capacitors in it, depending on the type of components it needs.
All right.
Also, capacitors can be dangerous because they can discharge if they're not disposed of properly.
Okay.
They can discharge, like big stereo systems use capacitors. I know when people were doing that to their car, capacitors are a big deal. In like a giant capacitor, but that can be like kill you if you don't use it right.
Jeez.
It just stores electricity until it's pulled out.
Okay.
So some researchers propose that the Ark of the Covenant may have functioned as an electrical capacitor, a device that stores and releases electrical energy. The Ark's construction materials, wood overlaid with gold, could, in theory, create conditions for static electricity to accumulate. Gold, being highly conductive, could allow for a build-up electricity charge if the arc were manipulated under the right environmental conditions, dry climates, conducive to static electricity. The ark's design, with its gold overlay and acacia wood structure, has prompted theories that it could have functioned as a capacitor. If charged, the arc could have theoretically discharged, potentially harming anyone or anything touching it. This is due to how it constructed, being gold, wood, gold.
Sure.
You had gold, the wood in the middle, and the gold, and the static electricity would transfer through the wood to the other gold and be held on the other side.
Yeah. But how would that explain like the boils and stuff like that people get?
Well, high amounts of electricity could cause people to get burns.
Burns, yeah.
Be considered tumors. I mean, electricity can probably give you a tumor.
Sure.
If you live under power lines, they say that can give you cancer. I'm just saying, like, there's this high energy line.
Yeah.
There's theories about that. I don't know if it's true. I'm not a doctor. Accounts of people being struck dead upon touching the ark, such as the story of Usa, are sometimes cited as possible evidence of the electrical discharge. If he touches it, he died.
Yeah.
If the ark stored electrical charge, someone touched it, might have indeed been fatally shocked. Think of lightning striking.
Of course, yeah. But what were some of the other curses that happened to people?
I mean,
like a plague kind of thing happened. Was that one of them?
people were getting sick around it, but
Yeah.
like, could that have been discharging electricity, giving them swords and stuff? I don't know. Like,
Okay.
so some of these might not match up to every story. Some of them might.
Yeah, I'm spitballing here.
Let's go into that. Was the electrical capacitor theory, which I think is pretty interesting. Very interesting how it works and the concept behind how capacitors are made.
Sure.
And how they're used and that discharging it. I mean, this guy could have been, Usa specifically could have been struck by lightning at the right exact time he touched it.
Yeah.
But a discharge electricity like that makes a lot more sense because it is, and this has been a lot like in the story, the shows I mentioned, scientists and like engineers and stuff breaking down like wood could make a pretty powerful, it could store the electricity in the wood some way.
Okay.
And then discharge through the gold.
Interesting. All right.
Because it was so dry and that electricity was a thing. All right, I got two more. Thank you for sticking with me. Next one is psychological or psychosocial theory. This theory views the ark as a symbol of power rather than literal weapon. The psychological and cultural importance of the ark may have heightened the Israelites' morale and confidence, affecting the outcomes of battles.
Sure.
The social cohesion it provided them.
Okay.
Presence of powerful and sacred objects representing the divine support could significantly influence the behavior and morale of individuals. Stories of the ark's destructive capabilities could have been metaphors or legends emphasizing God's authority and instilling fear in the opponents.
Symbolism.
Yep. The idea of the ark brought God's direct support to the battle and national decisions was central to the symbolism of it. For instance, the fear it instilled in the Philistines may have been psychologically rather than due to the actual destructive force that caused them to get sick. They felt they were getting sick because they took it because of the concept behind it.
Yeah. Bad juju.
Who? I didn't know her.
They thought my had bad juju, like superstitious kind of thing. On the Philistines part, like this thing.
We know this.
We're sick, and they're like, this must be from this thing, so let's give it back to them.
Meanwhile, they might have gotten all the plague. And
sure, yeah.
Just coincidence.
Yeah.
And our last theory is the symbolic and allegorical theory, as you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Some scholars interpret the Ark of the Covenant's power as symbolic representations of divine authority rather than literal descriptions. The Ark serves as a representation of God's covenant with Israel and reinforces the cultural importance of obedience and reverence. Allegorical interpretations of religious texts are common, especially in the context of narrative intended to convey moral or theological lessons. Stories about death resulting from mishandling the ark emphasize the sacred nature of the covenant and the need for ritual purity. A consistent theme of reverence and consequences for disobedience suggests that the stories surrounding the ark may be more about enforcing moral lessons than documenting actual events.
Okay.
So, that is the story of the ark. Now, there's other stuff out there. I didn't want to go too long. We're already going kind of long. So, what do you think the stories of the ark being a weapon come from? Was it true? Was it not true? Was it symbolic? What?
I think it could be symbolic and true, because if these people who have it, the Israelites who had it, think that it's giving them some sort of upper hand, that motivation, that thought makes them think that it's true, that becomes like predetermined.
They're
not scared. Yeah, they're not scared. So it kind of gives them. It's not a weapon in the sense that we're usually talking about, but it helps weaponize them mentally to think they can overcome these odds. I do think it's definitely some symbolic thing. It's like almost like a parable, like respect this thing or bad things will fall upon you because you're going against God's wishes. I definitely think there might be some exaggeration for sure with it.
That kind of like goes into the concept of like when you're saying that, like to give it a more different context is like the theories about football players, like American football players, and helmets technology.
Yep.
And like the better the technology got, people thought they could hit harder, which actually was making them get hurt more.
Yeah.
And that concept
more
of like
concussions.
You felt like because it's like some $1 trillion helmet design that's supposed to save you from concussions, it really didn't do anything because you were just hitting harder because you thought you were protected.
Yeah.
And so kind of the concept there goes
like
back
a
and forth.
Placebo kind of effect.
Yeah. Like, where you
Again,
think,
I'm not saying none of this didn't happen. I'm just saying that, like, definitely say it's a possibility.
God is dead is what you're saying. Yeah.
Definitely it's a possibility. They had this thing that perhaps actually did hold the 10 Commandments. They believe that, like, they should keep this thing safe and respect it. But maybe this is a story that was passed down, was later kind of maybe exaggerated for symbolic reasons. It's as a foundation or part of the religion. Maybe they did actually win. It's like in Jericho. Maybe they didn't somehow knock down the walls, and might not have been because of the ark, but might have been because they thought the ark gave them that ability from God to do such a monumental thing, overcome these insurmountable odds. Maybe when the Philistines did get a hold of it, like we said, maybe they did become sick, but not necessarily because of the Ark of the Covenant, but they
might have already been sick.
might have already been sick. And like the Philistines might have been, hey, this is the reason why we're sick, or the Philistines are just like, just get this thing out of here. We're done with this because we're sick. We can't keep going. So the Israelites are like, oh, this is why they got sick, because they had our Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah. It's almost like they came back from war, like were around other people. So like they understand how sicknesses work, and maybe that led to a lot of people getting sick.
Maybe.
Or maybe they were already sick, and then when they arrived home, the people that were in charge got sick after they did the battle. Do you think the Ark of the Covenant's still out there?
Yeah, it's in a warehouse.
Because there's like a lot of people point to like that place in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
There's like one guy's allowed in there that's ever, and he stays in there all day. Do you think there is something called the Ark of the Covenant or the 10 Commandments that's out there?
I do remember seeing like the Ethiopians, was it their Coptics? They apparently have a lot of old relics. Along the same lines, like only one guy can see it, kind of thing.
Yeah, he's like in there all the time. Like there's another documentary about like that, and it was like they were filming like some guy like by himself. Like this is you can't go in here.
But how can you prove or disprove that?
Right, if no one's allowed to see it. But it goes back to these stories.
Sure. Yeah.
Because there was that stories about that it was in our King Solomon's temple when it got sacked by the Babylonians, Syrians. And so that's where it went.
Yeah.
Or was destroyed there, or got taken there and then destroyed, or it's still there in the, in the caves or the mines underneath.
I don't know, it's just hard because, again, I'm not a Bible expert, but I keep hearing, or I've heard that like maybe there might be some truth to the Bible, but it might be exaggeration. You might not necessarily literal. Like some of these things never, like guys, what was the one guy in the Bible lived to be like 800 years old or something like that? Like,
I don't know.
There's certain like events that might have happened in the Bible that weren't exactly literal. It's more of like an
if my
allegory.
Religious teachers would have told me that story was in there, I would have been like, yeah, hell yeah, let's read that one.
I know there's some in the Bible live like people in the Bible live like hundreds of years or 100+ years. Back then, it was like that's not possible unless it's been from divine
Aliens.
reasons. But there's this thing out there like maybe the Bible shouldn't be taken literally.
Take away from its meaning or like its teachings.
Significance.
Like, like still a significant book because it's like any other historical relic.
Yeah.
But it's also the teachings in it could be, they're not literal, but they could be used to be like, we should be better people in some cases. But some of the stories are like, there's like some stories in there they're like, ugh.
Yeah, right.
But that's because it's written and translated 100 times.
Yeah,
and written over and over again.
But yeah, I don't know. It's hard because like you have to take this with the Bible as a whole.
It looks like the last time people saw it was in the King Solomon's temple.
Okay.
I guess. Or, wait. I guess it was 15th century. I don't know. So it sounds like, hey, there's a lot of stories out there about where the hell this thing went. Babylon in 587 BC destroyed Jerusalem.
What was Babylon? Okay. You said Babylon. Yeah.
Good call.
Good call, Chris.
I just was reading this stuff.
You remember your studies.
Well,
your Bible studies.
They didn't talk about wars, though. That's the thing that sucked. I remember losing class.
But what about the rest of the Catholic school? You didn't talk about war?
Well, in history class stuff, but not. Yeah. We didn't talk about the wars that were in the Bible. I talked about.
They're not real.
God isn't real. You guys hear that? You hear that out there? You hear it out there, world?
Just kidding. Just kidding.
All right.
Or am I? I don't know.
I think that while the electrical capacitor theory sounds
Sounds cool. It does sound cool.
That'd be awesome.
But how would they?
They wouldn't have known. It would be completely coincidental that they did that.
So sorry.
Could you imagine if they did that?
Yeah.
How amazing it would be if people would think it was the thing from God without even trying.
But with that theory, are they saying they knew they had that was the case?
No.
It was happenstance?
It's just like, oh, he touched it. God just shot him down. But it was really because it was a capacitor.
Okay.
They unknowingly built a capacitor.
Okay. What would that mean with them getting across the water, though? Would they all just died in the river? Because it'd be
discharged and kill everybody? The priests?
Unless it became capacitor after the fact at some point.
I don't know if that's like
what?
So the stories don't match up, I think is the issue. And we're not saying this all stuff is true, the electrical capacitors thing. We're saying that like that could be really cool. I'm saying that sounds like a cool way. And it makes sense. Maybe they crossed the Jordan because it was shallow in that area.
Yeah.
And again, people were scared because of the floodwaters.
Right.
But then they saw the ark was there, so we can do it now. Like we're not going to get washed away. Yeah. So maybe that was that issue. But on top of all that, if it was a capacitor that's just happened one time, it struck someone down when they touched it, that'd have been monumental. That'd have been like, this is our weapon now. Even though maybe that day it was really windy and really dry and it caused a lot of static electricity to build up inside the ark. And some wrong person touched it and zapped them.
Yeah, what point, though, through all its travels, would that have been, what would have been the key moment? When the Philistines had it, they broke down the wall, Jericho. You know what I'm saying? Like, what would have been that time of discharge? As it just kept, as it just kept building up.
Yeah, maybe over time they're like, "Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen?" You know. But also, might only be one or two stories of someone getting struck down when they touch it.
Yeah.
That's enough. I wasn't around then, but if I would ask these tough questions.
These are the questions.
As for the most likely, it was a like psychological tool that helped.
I think that's
their warriors.
Sure.
You know, when they saw it, they're like, "Oh crap, we're not gonna die now." So makes the most sense.
Yeah.
And even if they did die, they'd be like, "Well, that was God's plan."
Right.
Yeah. So it even
the win-win.
It win on both sides.
Yeah. It gave them the spark. Wink, wink. Continue on.
Wink at me. I don't know what that meant.
Give them a spark. The whole electrical conduit thing.
Well, I wasn't combining those two. But I know it does hurt whenever you get zapped. You know, and you go across the carpet. And die.
Yeah.
Happens a lot on our trampoline. I don't know why. Anyway.
Oh, wow. That's quite the flex, Chris. Happens a lot on our trampoline.
Yeah, the thing.
Get it, Chris. You have a trampoline.
Yeah, I had $200 once, Jordan.
$200 just for my trampoline.
Actually, I went to some lady's house for free and took it apart, this rusty ass thing from her backyard. After she was like, "You want a drink, honey?" And I'm like, "No, lady, leave me alone." Well, you told me this thing was ready to go. Now I'm sitting here.
Some lemonade?
I'm here for 6 hours taking this crap apart. It's all rusty. Nothing's happening.
A tray of lemonade and iced tea. Like, you want some of this?
Yeah.
Keep me out, lady.
Yeah, lady. Get the hell out of here. Anyway, tell your dog to quit biting me. Anyway, we got no answers. Thank you for being here. Jordan, thanks for coming with me.
Hey, thanks, Chris.
Sorry out there for everybody we offended with this episode. If you want to help us out for some reason and not get us struck down
by lightning,
you can do so by subscribing to us on YouTube or however you're getting this information. If you want to follow us on your YouTube or on your podcast platform of choice, give us a thumbs up on YouTube, give us a follow on YouTube, whatever it is. You can also reach out via social media. That is, all the links are found in our show notes below and on our website at mysteriousPals.com. It's mysteriousPals.com. Also there, you can send us an email, mysterioussPalsonline@gmail.com. The music you heard in the intro and outro was Bethlehem. The link is in the show notes below to find their Bandcamp.
Yep.
Please support them. Please support us first.
Then them.
Yeah.
If you have extra money.
I mean, whatever. All you got to do is follow us or tell your friends about us. Tell your enemies. Tell your friends. Tell anybody you know. Be like, hey, you want to ruin someone's day? Give us our link. Send our link
Listen
over.
to this long tangent at the opening of the show.
And Jordan, thank you for being here.
It's Chris.
Thank you out to everybody in mysterious land. We will see you next time. Same mysterious pals. Same mysterious place. Same mysterious time. We love you all. Good night.